Hello all, welcome to BIMxt Network, the second event. My name is Dana DeFilippi, coming from my home office in Washington, D.C. For those of you who do not know me, I'm a BIM technologist at Smith Group, an advisor for the Revit DC user group, and a speaker at national conferences. We actually have 5 user groups along the East Coast that have come together to bring you to the BIMxt Network. Our hope is to provide a live forum for people to share and connect on processes and tools related to building modeling. Today's topic is on project review at a distance and how the way we worked has evolved over the last few months. We will hear from 2 industry experts on their experience on how teams within their office have evolved in the way they work outside of the studio. Then we would like to hear from you. We want this to be a conversation, not only with our presenters, but also with you and the entire audience of experts on this call. Each presenter will deliver about a 10-minute presentation and will follow up with a 10-minute Q&A discussion, the wrap-up of the call around 2 p.m. today. A few tips for those of you who are not familiar with Zoom. In the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you can toggle between gallery mode and presenter mode. This will allow you to scroll through and see the faces of everyone on the call. Your video controls are on the lower left-hand corner of your screen. If you're okay with it, please share your face with us. We're actually going to give a $25 Amazon gift card to the best backgrounds, so please update your virtual background to something fun. Please utilize the chat tools to communicate with us as well as others privately. Once again, we want this event to be a resource for you to connect with building modeling experts. As you may have noticed, all of you on the call today are muted. We have Nick Sipes from Baltimore, Maryland, monitoring the chat, and he will be aggregating the questions from the audience. You'll have the option to be unmuted and ask the question yourself, or just have me ask the question for you. When asking your question, please tell us where you're calling in from today. Our goal is to inform, educate, and socialize the issues in a unique and fun experience. We'll be flexing the Zoom platform to create a more collaborative environment online as we evolve the BIMxt network events. This is our second event, so please let us know if you have any suggestions on how we can improve the value of this experience. We plan to do one of these once a month for the remainder of the year. The in-person city-based user groups will start up eventually. This event is intended to be an addition to those groups. We hope to see you at our live user group events in the future. You are the audience and the participant, so please turn on your video, play with some virtual backgrounds, and say hello to those you know, as we have a conversation about what has changed as the way we review projects since March. First today, we have Andrew Watkins, the Director of Building Technologies at Design Collective. Hey, Andrew. How have you been spending the last few months at home in Baltimore, Maryland? Oh, it looks like Andrew is muted.
Okay.
There we go.
I'm good. You know what? It's interesting. I live about a block and a half from my office, and we actually never closed. But I have been working at home for the most part, and my wife and I both work at home. So it's interesting sharing that broadband connection between us when we're both on Zoom calls. But yeah, it's been fun, and we're being as productive almost as ever with even not being at the office. So it's interesting new dynamic, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think most of us on the call are used to having significant others or someone else in the background, a baby crying, right? So no worries, we'll work with what we got.
Yep.
So what can you tell us about how teams at Design Collective have adapted in reviewing projects?
Well, it's interesting. You have a couple of different reasons for sharing a project virtually, whether it's internally to mark up a set of drawings, whether it's a presentation that you're preparing, or a set of drawings that's about to go out for permit for quality control. Then you also have just visualization that you're doing and looking at the design workflow, or you're sharing it out to external sources for project approvals and design buy-in. So I'm going to talk a little bit about both, but mostly focus on the preferred tools that we have been using for drawing markup. So if I could, I'd like you, if you could, to pull up the poll about people's favorite markup tools, and then I'm going to share my screen to show a little bit about BIM360 markup tools and Bluebeam Review Studio markup tools.
So if you could, audience, go ahead and let us know what your favorite drawing markup tools are. We'll give you a few more seconds to respond, and then we'll actually share the poll with the audience as well, so you guys can see how everyone responded. So it looks like we're at about 25 seconds. Go ahead and end it and share the results. So very, very high number, about 75% Bluebeam, which I think
Cool.
that's an industry standard, I'd say, right? I mean, I think within the office, outside of the office, Bluebeam provides some really, really great functionality for us as AEC practitioners.
Yep. So I'm going to jump first before we jump into Bluebeam Studio, and I'm going to share a few tips and tricks for that one. Hopefully a lot of people are using that already. But here we are in BIM360, and I'm guessing a lot of people have moved a lot of projects to the cloud as we all are remote. Please don't work on a project over a VPN hosted on your network. Please don't do that. That'll break everything. But here we are. Here's the markup tools for a sheet in BIM360. And over here on the right side, you see a set of tools. And, you know, those of us that are used to either Adobe or Bluebeam, these are a little bit lacking in what we like to do and how we mark up. So you do a little sketch tool and you can kind of scribble, or you can put a cloud around something and put some text with it. But you know what? It's a little bit rudimentary, and I think while yes, this can be shared out to contractors, to clients, or just your internal team, depending on your permission sets, the markup tools within BIM360 are not awesome in terms of drawing markup.
And most likely we've seen Autodesk has definitely been making lots of changes. We might see a name change, yes. But hopefully we'll see some more functionality.
And yeah, we talked about that last time. Like every time you open BIM360, there's a new thing that opens up, like the schedule publish of drawings, which are models that I didn't even know existed until that was brought up last time. So that's been fun. But what I'd really do like is the 3D markup tools and review capabilities. Super simple viewer, you know, easy to orbit, easy to drop a little guy in here, and then you go to the street view version. And you can use these same markup tools right within this viewer here. So you open your little markups panel on the left side, and you click on the markup, and it jumps right to it. And now I'm wondering why do I have bronze glass in this facade here? So that was an interesting way to kind of pull up and question what's going on with the design at that current time. And you know, again, anybody who has access to your project can make these different comments. So it's a great way to kind of track reversions and look at comments as they are progressing.
But, and as someone who hasn't used this side of BIM360 docs, how do we get to this? Because once again, that website is so tricky, right?
Yes.
So if we're in the web interface,
go up to this little 9 square icon here, and we're at document management, and then document management, and oh, now we're restarting. That's good. There we go.
Always good for a refresh.
Yeah. Go into your project folders, and depending on the model that you want to open, you just select the discipline. That's how we break up the models into different folders. And then just select the model that you want to open. And up comes the either your 2D views that you have published out or your 3D model view. Look at all those fun 3D level lines that are cropping up now. And it publishes, it's, you know, this is a 500 megabyte model, so it's a pretty significant model, but it you know, publishes out and opens up in the viewer pretty quickly.
And this is, looks like we have a few questions coming in particular, the web version of BIM360 documents. That's where we only see the published model, right? So you need to publish your model if you want to see the latest and greatest to be
That
able
is
to mark it
correct.
up, correct?
That is correct.
Awesome.
And fun side fact, you can see all of the versions of that model, and you can definitely open up different past versions or future versions and look at and compare the changes between the two. Not going to demonstrate all that right now, but it is a good way to track how the model history over time.
Can we save 3D views from the Revit model and have them available here to be viewed? So if we wanted specific areas, maybe lobbies or what have you that we're coordinating in,
Yep,
can
you
maybe
definitely
crop
can,
those
and
up or...
you add those to the views that you want to publish. So you can publish any sheets, any views from your model, from your project browser, and they will appear here for public consumption.
That's fantastic. And like you said, Andrew, this is something that a lot of us have, if not within, the last year, definitely within the last 3 to 6 months, we're already using this platform. So if we can have it all integrated
Definitely.
with the permissions are already set up and all of that good stuff, why not?
Right, right. So as I said, it's a great tool. It does have some of its limitations, especially from the AEC markup and review standpoints that, just tool parts that we're used to using. Things like the ability to save comments as a tool set that you use frequently, like when you're doing a punch list or something like that. Things that Bluebeam has built into it. So if it's okay, I'm going to switch over to Bluebeam. And it is here somewhere.
While you do that, it looks like we're up to about 90 plus people. So I just want to see where everyone is coming from today. So if you could go ahead in that poll, hopefully in front of you, let us know where you're coming from. Oh, I like seeing the numbers on Washington, D.C. go up. We didn't have any last time. This is awesome. We'll give you a few more seconds on that. I think some people just put Washington, D.C. to appease me. It just shot up. Alrighty. So we'll share the results here. Looks like we have the majority in Maryland, Virginia, and North Carolina, but definitely some representation in even Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., South Carolina, and some other states not listed. So we'd love to see that in the chat, where you're coming from outside of the USA or outside of the state listed. We'd love to see where you guys are coming from. So thank you guys so much.
And who is outside the U.S.?
I know. I want 2 people. Look at that. Yeah. That's awesome.
Cool.
All right. So Bluebeam is definitely, as we saw, 75%, 3/4 of us are in there using that.
So real quickly, I'm in Bluebeam Studio. That's the little house icon over here. And there's a difference between projects and sessions. Projects, it's one person marking up at a time. Sessions is multiple people marking up at a time. That's the simplest clarification between the two. And what I love about sessions is I can invite up to 500 people to mark up something at once. And you get this sort of stream of consciousness of what is happening, who is marking up what and when. And so you really can see A, who's in it at the current time, and B, what they have marked up and what they have looked at as they've gone through. So, and then you can also, let's just jump to something.
This is also an interface just like BIM360, where I haven't had much interface with Bluebeam, but there's so many buttons in here.
There are a lot of icons to get used to.
Icons.
Yeah.
A little overwhelming, to be honest.
So here you see I've dropped a cloud on here, pretty simple. And what I love about it is I can set the status of it. So if you hop down here and set status, and we've got our own standards. So if I hit complete, I've picked that up. It changes color, and it's just a quick visual reminder that this is something that either still needs to be done or is already completed and is ready to go. You can also, if there are multiple people involved in this markup, I can right-click that and share the comment with an outside person. They will get an email, and they will get a hyperlink right to that specific comment in the document, so they don't have to sort through the document to find that specific comment. I love that feature.
Just takes them right to it, right? Check your spelling. I know
Yeah.
that I would probably get comments like that to check
Oh
my
yeah, it's
spelling.
all the time. Um, so I'm just going to share a couple of tips and tricks for this. I love these keyboard shortcuts. Again, not a feature in BIM360, but if I just quickly grab that and I'll make a paste of it and move that around. Love doing that stuff. But A or C or K, these quick single letter shortcuts lets me do T for text box, and here we go.
Oh, so you don't have to use the buttons. That makes it
Text box,
wonderful.
boom. And now if I hit Alt Z, that automatically sizes the text box right down to the text that you have typed. So it auto sizes your text box. So lots of fun stuff like that, and it's makes it fit on the screen a little better, so you don't have giant boxes with just one line of text.
Amazing
So
tip.
really cool stuff there. You can also export 3D PDFs from Revit or whatever your tool of choice is. And then you can spin around and mark those up in Bluebeam. It's a little bit of a heavy file format where BIM360 handles that much better. So it kind of
And
depends what
do
you're
you
doing.
use the Bluebeam add-in within Revit to create the 3D PDF?
You do, yes. And I use that all the time for printing just because you have much better control over file naming and things like that.
I know users within Smith Group, especially before the collaboration tools within BIM 360, at least before we were utilizing them, loved the 3D PDFs.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And they can be embedded in PowerPoints or InDesign documents. There are lots of uses for those things.
Looks like Dan Warren has a question about whether you leverage the sets tool within your Bluebeam projects.
A lot of my users do. They definitely have sets. They have bookmarks. They sort them into disciplines. So yeah, we don't have a set way to use it. It's more about how different project managers have preferences, and some are very persnickety in how they have their sets set up, and others are much less so.
One of the amazing things that I've done with Bluebeam is creating a multi-page PDF from Revit and then using the bookmarks to basically separate the pages, and it creates such wonderful naming within those
Yes,
PDFs,
yes,
right?
love it. Yeah, here I'll share that for everybody. So here's our Revit add-in, and here we got the Bluebeam add-in for Revit.
And you see there the Create 3D PDF right next to it.
Yep, right there. Over here is the Bookmarks tab, and if I just click that for drawing, and it will now just name all of your sheets by the drawing name, so you don't have to do any renaming later in Bluebeam, although that's really easy too, but so that's a super useful feature as well.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Andrew. Any final thoughts about how your firm has changed in terms of reviewing projects and collaborating?
Yeah, I wanted to touch on VR just a little bit, not
Absolutely.
to do a huge diversion, but we've been using a tool called Iris VR. I don't know if anybody else is using that at all, but it's pretty cool in that it lets you export a model like this out to the cloud, and then you can invite other users into it. So you do effectively a multi-user VR review. So you get a little avatar, you're all standing around the model or inside the model, depending, and you're all looking at the same thing. You can divert people's attention right to a specific thing to look at. And it really has become a great design collaboration tool, especially for all of us. We have designers in Chicago and clients in Florida, and it becomes a great way to, especially with Oculus Quest now being able to handle these models, becomes a really fairly cost-effective way to do it.
Absolutely. Iris has been around for a while. They're, excuse me,
Yep.
always at our conferences. You can get them to come over and give you demos. So definitely recommend that.
Right.
There's also a few other companies, Ulio, The Wild. So this is definitely becoming a trend with VR and having this conference room style setup where everybody can collaborate within a VR experience together. So absolutely, definitely great tip.
Yeah, there's one called Spatial, which it's not even dedicated to architecture or models, but it's as if your avatar is in a conference room, and you can have a whiteboard, you can throw images up on a VR wall, add augmented reality components to it.
Some
I know
commenting tools.
Yes, that is free right now. I'm sure that will not be the case for a long time.
They want to sell you on it, right? Make it a must-have, and then they want to charge you for it. Yeah. Absolutely, per usual. Well, awesome. So next we have Heather Worrell, the Director of Design Technologies at Ratio Architects. Heather comes from us from Raleigh, North Carolina. How are you doing today, Heather? Muted. You're not allowed to unmute yourself. Maybe Nick or Jeff can help us there in the back.
All right. Oh, they did it. They made it happen. They made it happen. So I've been spending lots of quality time with my dog, and that's been a lot of it. Yeah. And I've also started
adorable
doing,
dog.
Yeah, I have to get it in my face so you can see it. I've been making little claymation videos, so anybody that wants one, I can send one to you. So that keeps me entertained. That's what I've been doing personally.
The Instagram that Heather has is very interesting. Definitely recommend you guys check her out. Dog photos, all kinds of really awesome stuff that I'm into. Sure.
Yeah. I always like taking pictures of plants and flowers and bugs.
Right there with you.
And my dog, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
So Heather, what kinds of changes have you noticed at Ratio in terms of project review?
Yeah, so I have a PowerPoint I'll show in a minute, but we have a process during design, which we call live design, and then Autodesk took that, but we had it trademarked, so I think we're good. But we have a live design process where we work with the clients one-on-one, and we do a lot of interaction with them, obviously in person. So we've had to change, quite a bit of what we're doing there. So I'm just going to show you some of our stuff that we've had to work on. We're actually worked with Ratio BrewWorks. This was for an interview with them, so we were able to get online. And then this other picture is just from in our office yesterday, in fact. Of course, we'd rather be actually at the brewery to present some of those topics. But our typical design process, this kind of hands-on work, obviously this is not allowed anymore. So we can't do this. This was right before we all were required to stay home. And this is a document that we developed a design narrative for.
Do you have the ability to share your screen? I don't.
Can you not see?
No.
Oh, okay,
not
hold
yet.
on. Let's get it back in there. Screen one. Share. Oh,
there we go.
There we go.
Got it.
Got it. Okay, so remember everything I said from before. All right. So anyway, this hands-on approach with our clients, not allowed. Don't do that anymore. This was right before we all had to stay at home that we got some of this involvement with our clients. And then we had to move to online. So showing our clients all this information online. Some of the stuff was in SketchUp, so we found that as a tool to very easily let them see kind of different color blocking. During schematic design, we're still using SketchUp quite a bit for this live design process. Of course, we would like it to be more integrated with Autodesk, but the tools are just, our users still are a little bit hesitant to use some of those tools. So that's what all those are. And then these graphic meeting minutes were required to present these as part of this design narrative to to the school system. They're pretty tech savvy, and so and it's savvy client in general. So there's that. And then for like our internally, like how we do documentation review anyways, so this is more on the construction documents side, doing technical reviews. We are using Bluebeam. So that's just one area that, you know, we're continuing to evolve. And then we started using forms just to make a technical review summary. So we have a whole bunch of other documents that we have our technical reviewers use, but this is kind of just the, you know, just in summary where things are with the project. And then on the back end of that, so this is forms within the Microsoft Office suite. We can start to get information about like what we need to train our own personnel on. So we've just started this, so obviously we don't have a lot of comments in here on different things, but I imagine we'll start to see a lot more data coming through through those forms. And then for we do have that same client, we do have some client mandated review tools. So Wake County Schools requires us, they end up setting up the Bluebeam session and then invite everybody to it. And so they have a whole bunch of people on their side that are reviewing and providing markups, and we have to respond to those. So Dana, I don't know if you want to pull up that audience poll. So just about, you know, I don't know if any others have seen this, that the clients are reviewing the documents. I like the process myself. It keeps us all pretty well informed of what we need to get done.
Looks like there's a bit of fluctuation there, but mostly no or sometimes. So let's share those results here. Looks like the majority is sometimes, but probably not.
Yeah, yeah. So it's nice when you have that client that is able to provide some of that stuff for you. Let's see. And so again, this is just within Bluebeam, and we have, you know, all the client markups and our markups, and we have to respond to each one of them. So within Bluebeam, you can click on the comment and then say that it's complete. And so we have to do that for every design phase of the project. And then, so for BIM360, this is probably where I want to spend more time. Again, we had a pretty large project, this convention center project that just got moved into, or we just started going on BIM360 with it, and we have our whole project team. So it's quite a large project team. We have like 2 engineering firms, you know, for each of the engineering groups, a number of interior designers, a few architecture firms. So we have to get everybody on board, and because, you know, why not? I was like, well, let's try and use the review tools within BIM360 to review our documents. We did have some, like, people were not happy about it, so they didn't want to learn new things. But the main thing, yeah, the main thing that I really like about it is that the backgrounds are staying updated. And so each week, you know, when you're doing your documentation, as you create a new set, or like, you can have all of your different models published with, you know, all the 2D views that you want to have. You can put PDFs, and these are all PDFs here. But if we come down to our different files somewhere in here, this is still a bit, but these are all of our files that we have in the project. So the backgrounds update, the comments remain. So that's one thing with Bluebeam, is that it, you know, the data can get out of date pretty quick, as people, if your project team is moving pretty fast and somebody's done a markup like last week, you might have already picked up all those comments. So that's one thing where I like the fact that, you know, all these the markups and the issues will stay on the sheet, and then you can update it further. I think somebody mentioned in the comments that you can adjust like what you're publishing so that your typical 3D view, you're not going to have all of those crazy levels everywhere. So you can make that adjustment within the publishing settings. And then you can do the same thing over here with your markups. So there was a question I saw in the chat before I got on about the difference between markups and issues. So issues is this warning symbol over here, markups are markup symbol. So within, the one thing with markups is that you can't assign those to anybody unless somebody tells me different, but Autodesk told me that, so, but I wouldn't be surprised that they don't know. So the markup's not assignable, and even when you make a, if you're making a markup in here, you're going to notice here that you have this private thing. So that's, this markup is just for you. I don't know why that's super valuable. So you always have to come in here and set it to published. There's another thing called reviews, which I haven't done yet. It just seemed like one more step that I didn't want to make everybody take. And so that has to be made public so that everybody can see it. And so the issues, so that's done. You can see that it's published. The issues is a separate thing. So what I've been telling people is that if you make a markup on a sheet and you want somebody to be assigned to it to go fix it, then you have to make an issue to match that markup. So it's a little bit of double work that you have to assign. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Any questions? Any questions come up? I can't.
It doesn't look like
No? Okay. All right. So there's that. The other thing that I found within the document management, so we have the sets that, those sheets are coming directly from your project file, and then you can upload PDFs into this, they call it plans for whatever bizarre reason. So I've renamed that to make it more understandable, but keeping the weird plans name in there. Does anybody know why they called it plans? It's so bizarre.
I know that there's also ways with the BIM360 project creation that you can create templates, which might help, especially for those of us who are having to create dozens of projects every day.
Yep.
So that will definitely help, because setting these folders up, especially after the fact, can be extremely tedious.
Yep.
I know there might be some Forge apps and different things like that for those of you who are, yep, there you go. You see it, the ratio template. So that definitely will get you a lot of that started and a lot of those naming things consistent, which help.
Yeah.
It does look like we have a question. We have a question from, I don't want to mispronounce the name, Achieva from North Carolina, asking, can you explain background?
Oh, the background. So, so it's literally the background information of your drawing. So even within this, these are PDFs that were brought in here. So this is a PDF. You can see this is version 1. But if I were to upload another SH206, that would become version 2. But the markups and the issues would remain there. So unlike Bluebeam, where you'd have to do some magic of copying over a whole bunch of comments, which I don't think would happen, the backgrounds can continually be updated. It
almost kind of automatically slip sheets it for you.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. And so, so with the markups, they can, if something gets done, at least you have a check to see, Brad said that he got this thing done. You can go back and say, oh yeah, Brad did get it done, and they can just delete that markup out of the project or set it to, and set the issue to complete or however you're working with it. So
do you coordinate with your consultants on their published sets? Is that something that you share permissions with them, or even maybe the client that you've been seeing? that they're interested in seeing some of this stuff?
Yeah. So the published documents, we created some files, some just BIM360 guides for our consultants, so that they always have access to it. And you can, in sets, you can set it to have different sets that match the publishing sets. So in this guide, it just kind of runs through like what you need to do, what you need to be naming it. This is how we just have all of our projects set up, and so that we're making sure that we have all the most current data that we can out there on BIM360.
Looks like there's a bit of chat going on about BIMtrack. Looks like James Klein is asking if anybody's having any experience with that to streamline the markup process. It looks like some people are saying that BIMtrack, you can utilize it within the actual software, different things like that. So do you have any familiarity with? So I definitely encourage you guys listening to the call, check out BIMtrack. It looks like they have some really wonderful markup tools as well.
Yep. All right. I wonder if that's an add-in, or they also keep adding so many apps within BIM360. I just looked today, and there were a whole bunch of new apps available to bring into your project. So I feel like I've gone on. I want to make sure that other people can come on the line. One kind of last thing that we started to do just during this time frame was we set up a project for our typical details and like the typical sheets that we have in our project sets. And so this is a place where you don't have to have the design paid version, but you can get signed up for docs and review details. So we've set that up for our projects, and it's been working pretty well. So I'll just continue to let you know on how that proceeds. I think there's still some stuff that needs to get figured out, and there's still like you said, there's so many buttons and so many places to go look at, so many permissions, and
yeah, especially for me, the craziest part is when you go to create a package, you have to know to like click that button down to, there's just a whole bunch of different places in here you got to click.
Yeah, I forget, there was a new one that I found today. Let's get back onto my...
So with your details, is that a project that's kind of a container file that people can pull from and maybe comment on and do things like that? Have you noticed that it's pretty easy to copy sheets or 2D views from one BIM360 project to another? I can't say that I have seen that yet.
Yeah, so this, we set it up a little bit differently. So these, we just pulled the PDFs. So you can see that design collaboration isn't even activated for this project. So it's just document management. So we made a PDF of all of the details. So we have container files, and we grabbed all those details, put them into one file so that we're also updating like detail components. These are all the things as some of our projects have gone on hold. So we have all this work that needed to be done anyways. And so now we have, we call them BIM turns, working on a lot of this stuff. So these are just PDFs that are in there. So it's not the live views from the model. But again, as those details get developed, we'll pull new versions in and just verify that all the comments have been picked up. So it's a little, it allows us to kind of back check on a lot of that work.
Yeah, that's fantastic that you can, especially given that, a lot of these discipline committees and things like that who don't have the opportunity to meet face to face, they can just come up here and collaborate on these types of details. And if there needs to be additional ones or what have you, they can just upload them right up here. So that's really fantastic.
Yeah, and like some of our, we get email, like the BIM team gets emails from time to time from more of our senior staff, and so we'd always struggle with making sure those got integrated into our template. So a lot of those, we're going to they're not in here yet, but we would put those template sheets in here, and then those individuals can come mark it up, and then we have like one place where we can go look and make sure that we're, picking up all of the changes that needed to be made.
And so in terms of those types of things where, for example, the details project, would you just add the company to that so that everybody has permissions to it, or is this small group that would have access to that?
It would, you have to add the members one by one.
By one, yeah.
Yeah,
I think Forge is creating some apps that might streamline that, but yeah, that seems like especially for, I know Ratio has multiple offices, so trying to add every single person individually, that just seems like a nightmare. But it seems, once again, just such an easy way to collaborate up there and have everybody have access to it.
Yeah. And plus, like if people are just looking for like, how do you draw this thing? Like then they can come here and see how they draw it, even if it's not something like we want them to pull it live from the model, not necessarily from from a typical details file, because it shouldn't be a drafting view, it should be a live view. This at least can give them a place to come and look for all that information. Like when I started, we had these big giant binders with all the details in them that we could go reference.
Exactly.
Like, those are gone. Maybe.
So it looks like Dan Warren is asking about the service of Insight, which we know we can add to our project as a service. Are you leveraging any of the information from Insight?
We've had a few projects doing some things with Insight, like we attempted to do daylight studies, but we ended up going back to Sapphira. There was, at least in 2020, we had some issues with the materials, and we worked very hard with Autodesk to get it figured out. But that weird like yellow exclamation point in the corner of your materials now?
Yeah.
Well, that turns out that was causing an issue in some form with our daylight analysis. So
I guess that's looking at a lot of the materials and their thermal and physical properties. And so if those materials can't be found, that's something that at Smith Group we're trying to find a workaround so that people don't have to be on VPN to be able to render and utilize landscape and all of those good tools.
Yeah.
So that definitely is a great tip, Heather, to think about.
Yeah. So like I said, I think it ended up with that project because we just were not making it, like we weren't getting the daylighting credits that we wanted to get LEED, but we ended up using Sapphira, and I think they both came up with the same results anyway, so maybe it was fine. Yeah, it was a good test at least.
Looks like Robert Judd has started using Procore coordination issues, which integrates within Navisworks, allows connectivity to PVS and Procore, allowing both 2D and 3D integration, mostly for construction coordination, but would be helpful during design also. Not sure if you've heard of Procore. I certainly have not.
Yep, we have another number of contractors that use it. I think its pricing is. It used to be project-based. That might have changed. So, like pricing-wise, it wasn't always a super awesome answer for us. But yeah, we have used that in the past, and but again, mainly it's on the contractor side. There is one other, all the buttons, all the places kind of thing that I, at least when I was creating issues, there are permissions based on issues that you have to navigate. So keep that in mind for your project. So that was one. I was like, why can't nobody can make comments? I don't understand. So you have the permission level set up by the type of person or the role. You can do it by entire company as well. So just keep that in mind. And then another thing, like just kind of getting your projects in line that you might you might consider doing. Like, we don't need all of these during the commissioning, observation, all that stuff. We don't need that during design, so I've turned all those off. And then the same thing with root causes. We just need coordination and design. So those are a couple things that kind of hung me up for a while on why can't people make issues, and why are there so many issues and choices that people need to scroll through. So that will kind of help on the back end to maybe get a little bit more buy-in from your folks.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we have Noah, who's been sharing some comments about BIMtrack, and he has some input that he would like to share about his experience with that tool, with BIMtrack, in terms of markups and how he's utilizing it.
Cool.
You there with us, Noah?
Yeah, are you able to hear me?
I am.
Oh,
Hi,
excellent.
Noah.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's going well.
Good to see you.
It's great to see everybody's faces. So yeah, we've been using BIMtrack for a little over a year now at Air St. Gross to help with our coordination efforts. Originally, we had taken it on a project that had gotten really too far down the line without starting a coordination effort, and we knew we needed to do a ton of coordination really quickly. And so we were just looking at it as a way to sort of speed up the process, organize the issues that we were finding. The process is really, you do a Navisworks clash detection model, you create your clashes, you group your clashes, and then you can turn them into issues in BIMtrack. It is a third-party software. You are buying licenses, and the way it usually works is, the architect or whichever firm is sort of leading the coordination effort buys a block of licenses and then gives them out to their consultants on the project. So if it is something that you're looking for, you might want to talk to your consultants about working in a little bit of support for the cost, but the price is pretty reasonable there. And what it allows is, once you've done the coordination in Navisworks and you've created those issues and turned them into issues, they are viewable directly in your Revit session. So you could just be working in your Revit model. If you're the structural engineer and the architect has identified, 20 structure related issues, you can filter your list. It's got an add-in right there in Revit for you, and it shows you can click on it and it takes you right there in your Revit model live to the issue. And if any additional information has been given, it can be there. If you resolve the issue, you can say you've resolved it, and the person who created it is notified, and they can review that it's been done. So you don't have to go to a BIM360 hub at that point. You don't have to go to a Bluebeam session. You can just be working in the model. And so while we first took it on as a way to get through our massive clash detection really quickly, what the team then continued to see is you didn't need to start even with the clash detection effort. You can just as easily, as we were seeing with the Bluebeam sessions, as we were seeing with the BIM360 comments, you can just, while working in Revit, see something that's wrong and say, using your plugin, this is an issue, create issue, have the snapshot of your screen and say what it is. I mean, it's the type of thing we've been doing for years, where we might do a little snippet of whatever's on your screen and shoot it off to a consultant and say hey, we need to fix this. But rather than it just getting lost in your list of inbox emails, it is right there in the list of BIMtrack issues assigned to the specific consultant. And until it's resolved, it's going to stay on the list, and it is tied, geolocated in the model right away, because you had shared coordinates when you originally set up the project. So we've been enjoying it.
Fantastic. I know Revitisto also has some capability of going back and forth between Revit, so you can visualize some of those comments and markups within Revit as well. And I know that's usually on the contractor side of things.
So yeah, we had looked at Revitisto as well at the time when we were looking at a solution. And what we were finding is Revitisto does a ton of other things too. And so the sort of issue resolution and coordination is just one of many things that their specialization, and so they were priced at a point that was, if you're looking for all of these other things, it made sense, but if you were only looking at just coordination and between models, like it didn't quite compare. So
Sure.
they're like 3D visualization support was a lot better. BIMtrack doesn't have a model environment. You're using Navisworks, you're using Revit. It isn't sort of a standalone software at all.
Kind of probably going back between element IDs, really.
Yeah.
Awesome. Looks like Ed Maya, I'm sorry if I've mispronounced your last name, asks, has anyone used clash detection in BIM360? Noah, Andrew, Heather, anybody? Any clash detection utilizing the BIM360 interface or service?
I haven't, mostly because it's not part of the AEC collection or part of the BIM360 design contract. So like, even if you're doing Revit in BIM360, you would need to buy a separate license to be able to do Navisworks in BIM360. And so we haven't bothered.
Right. Yeah, Autodesk likes to make those structures pretty complicated, right? So it looks like, Noah, you are the winner of the best background for your space capsule background in honor of SpaceX and our astronauts in space. So congratulations.
Hey, nice.
Luckily, Jeff has all your contact information and he will get to you with your $25 gift card. So hopefully you can spend on something fun.
Excellent. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I will pop back to Heather, see if she has any things she would like to wrap up with or any final comments in terms of how Ratio is going with project review at a distance. Do we lose Heather? Well, while we wait for Heather, we do have a few more polls here. Are you tired of webcam calls? I know that it definitely makes us seem a little bit more in person, right? But sometimes I'm in my pajamas or I don't have my contacts in. I don't want people to see me, right? So are you tired of it? I mean, it's, in my opinion, way better than being in the office, I gotta say. Looks like most people agree with me. They do not want to get back to the conference rooms, but some do. 11% of people like the face-to-face conference room setting. 35% likes the way of communicating. I'm right there with you. And we definitely have learned a lot in the way that we've communicated at a distance and will make us work more efficiently. So that's definitely the majority. And I think that this is the new normal, right? We got to find a new normal. Even if we do start going back to the office, it's not going to be every day most likely. So I'm right there with Andrew. Putting pants and a collared shirt on is so 2019. I won't ask what you have below the belt on, Andrew. I have my sweatpants on personally, so. All right. Well, unfortunately, it looks like we have lost Heather. It looks like we have everybody's questions wrapped up. Looks like everybody did some really wonderful explaining in their presentations. Dan Warren actually asked if, Laura, are you using glue? I never found the glue to BIM360 to Navisworks workflow is never fully functional for our needs. Oh, and Heather's back. And so maybe she can share some final thoughts with us about Ratio and their experience.
Yes, I'm back. My power's out, so that means internet is also out.
Okay, well,
yeah.
Phone for the win.
Yeah. Phone is here now. Yeah.
So any final comments about Ratio or maybe some concluding things about what you guys have found?
Yeah, I think it's still, as new technologies come around, it's always like hard to get people to change. As I said, we still have people on SketchUp in early design. And so getting them moved over to a different platform, just kind of having to describe like what the benefits are and you know, having
Especially
them,
since everybody's having to deal with so many changes, right? It's like, let
yeah,
me throw one more change at you.
I'm good at that.
Me too. Me too.
Let's do this biggest project. Yes, let's put it on
I'm right here to
and
help.
do all the things.
Absolutely.
So I think just, you know,
Absolutely.
allowing people to take some time for the change and yeah. So that's it. At some point
Awesome.
I think, I don't know, I just feel like this, like how we work as an industry is gonna like definitely be changed through all of this.
Absolutely. And I know in the last BIMXT meeting, we definitely talked about how laser scanning is going to definitely become more prevalent, as if, you know, it wasn't already, but we're definitely going to see a lot more of that
Mhm.
rather than people going to sites and,
Yep.
you know, doing different things like that. So definitely interested in you guys and your feedback. If you have any comments or suggestions in terms of future presentations, we'd love to hear that. Thank you, both Andrew and Heather for presenting today, and Noah, of course, for all of your input. We love that. And of course, everyone for your comments and including that on the discussion. Once again, congratulations to Noah for his best background. And it looks like, Nick, we're going to drop the survey. So once again, we really do want to get your comments and your feedback. Make sure that we can make this event the best for you guys. Once again, we really want to make it as collaborative and enjoyable for everybody. Make sure that everybody is getting the most information they can. Nick, as you can see, has posted in the comments the Survey Monkey, so please make note of that if you can't do it right away. Some point, please get in there, let us know so that we can evolve this and hopefully make it better next month. Thank you guys so much, and have a wonderful day.